The splash echoed across the parking lot like a gunshot. Karen's pristine white BMW bobbed in the murky pond water, its hazard lights blinking frantically beneath the surface as she stood screaming on the shore. "You psychopath. That's a 60 car." But Marcus just smiled, holding up his phone with the crystal-clear video of her racist tirade from 10 minutes earlier. "Should have thought about that before you decided to ruin my daughter's birthday party," he said calmly, watching her designer heels sink into the mud. "Because Karen, this is just the beginning." The morning had started perfectly. Marcus Williams stood in his driveway at 7 a.m., methodically checking items off his mental list while his breath formed small clouds in the crisp October air. Balloons check, tables check. The bounce house company would arrive at 9. His daughter Zoe's 8th birthday party was going to be everything she'd dreamed of, and after the year they'd had, she deserved nothing less. "Daddy, is the princess gonna come?" Zoe appeared at his elbow, still in her unicorn pajamas, dark curls a beautiful mess around her shoulders. "She'll be here at noon, baby girl. Princess Aurora, just like you wanted." Marcus knelt down to meet her eyes, the same warm brown as her mother's had been. "You excited?" Zoe nodded so vigorously her whole body bounced. "Can I wear my new dress now? After breakfast. Go help Grandma with the pancakes." Marcus watched his daughter skip back toward the house, her joy infectious despite the knot of anxiety in his stomach, hosting a party for 20 kids in there. Quiet suburban neighborhood of Willowbrook felt like stepping into a spotlight he wasn't sure he wanted. They'd moved here 6 months ago after Sarah's death, seeking a fresh start in a place where the elementary school had an excellent reputation, and the streets were lined with maple trees that turned brilliant gold each fall. The neighbors had been polite but distant, friendly waves across driveways, the occasional "How are you settling in?" at the mailbox. Marcus told himself it was normal people were busy with their own lives, but sometimes he caught the lingering stares, the way conversations seemed to pause when he walked by. He'd grown up the only black family in a small Wisconsin town. He recognized the signs. "Morning, Marcus." He turned to see Janet Rodriguez from across the street, already dressed and walking her golden retriever. Janet was one of the few neighbors who'd made a genuine effort to welcome them, bringing over a casserole their first week and always stopping to chat when their paths crossed. "Hey, Janet, early walk today." Buster had other plans. She gestured at her dog, who was methodically sniffing every blade of grass. "Big day today, huh? Zoe must be over the moon. She's been talking about it for weeks." "I'm more nervous than she is, honestly." Janet smiled warmly. "She's lucky to have a dad who cares so much. If you need any help setting up, just holler. I'll be around all morning." "Thanks. I really appreciate that." As Janet continued down the street, Marcus felt some of his tension ease. Maybe he was overthinking things. Maybe today would just be about kids having fun, eating cake, and Zoe getting to feel special. The bounce house arrived exactly on time, and Marcus spent the next hour directing its placement in the backyard. The rental company had assured him the yard was large enough, but seeing the inflatable castle dominating the space made him second-guess the logistics. 20 kids plus parents had he bitten off more than he could chew. "It looks amazing, sweetheart." His mother-in-law, Grace, appeared beside him, carrying a tray of fresh fruit. At 72, Grace moved with the efficiency of someone who'd raised 5 children and helped with countless grandchildren. She'd moved in with them after Sarah's death, and Marcus couldn't imagine navigating single parenthood without her. "Steady presence. Think it's too much?" he asked for Zoe. "Nothing's too much." Grace set the tray on one of the rental tables. "Sarah would have loved this." Marcus nodded, throat tight. Sarah had been the planner in their relationship, the one who remembered birthdays months in advance and created Pinterest boards for every occasion. He was flying blind here, trying to channel her energy and attention to detail. "The other parents staying?" Grace asked. "Most of them, I think. It's that age where they don't just drop and run anymore." "Good about time, some of these neighbors. Got to know what a wonderful family they're living next to." At 11:30, the first guests began arriving. Marcus positioned himself near the front door, trying to project confidence he didn't entirely feel. Zoe, resplendent in her new purple dress with sparkly butterflies, bounced beside him with barely contained excitement. "There's Emma!" Zoe squealed as a minivan pulled up. Emma Chen from her class climbed out, followed by her mother Lisa, who Marcus recognized from school pickup. "Hi, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much for inviting Emma. She's been talking about this party all week." Lisa handed him a wrapped gift and looked around the yard approvingly. "This setup is incredible. Thanks. I may have gone a little overboard. Trust me, as someone who's hosted plenty of these, you've got it handled. The bounce house alone makes you Parent of the Year." More families arrived in quick succession. The Johnsons with their twins, the Patels with shy little Arun, Mrs. Henderson dropping off her grandson, Tyler. Marcus found himself relaxing as conversations flowed naturally. Parents complimenting the decorations and asking about Zoe's school year. Maybe his fears had been unfounded. The princess performer arrived at exactly noon, transforming into Princess Aurora with an elaborate gown and perfectly styled blonde wig. Zoe's gasp of delight when she opened the back gate made every penny worth it. "Welcome to Princess Zoe's royal celebration," Aurora announced in a musical voice that had every child instantly mesmerized. For the next hour, Marcus watched his daughter live in pure magic. She participated in princess training exercises, learned royal dance moves, and got her face painted. With delicate flowers, the other kids were equally entranced, and parents chatted easily while keeping one eye on their children. Then the white BMW pulled up. Marcus noticed it first because it parked directly across his driveway, blocking the exit. The car sat there for a full minute before the door opened, and a woman in her 40s emerged. She was impeccably dressed in designer jeans and a cream-colored sweater, blonde hair styled in perfect beachy waves. She surveyed the scene with undisguised irritation. "Excuse me," she called out, striding across the yard with purpose. Several conversations stopped as heads turned toward her voice. "Are you the homeowner?" Marcus stepped forward. "Yes, I'm Marcus Williams. Can I help you?" The woman's eyes swept over him, and he caught something in her expression that made his stomach clench. "I'm Karen Mitchell. I live 2 houses down." She pointed vaguely down the street. "I need to talk to you about this situation." "What situation?" Marcus kept his voice level, aware that other parents were now openly watching. This Karen gestured broadly at the party. "The noise, the cars parked everywhere, that ridiculous inflatable thing in your yard. Some of us are trying to enjoy a peaceful Saturday." Marcus glanced around. The nearest neighbors were the Hendersons on one side, who were actually at the party, and an elderly couple on the other. The street had maybe 3 extra cars parked legally. On the public road, "I'm sorry if we're disturbing you," he said carefully. "It's my daughter's birthday party. We'll wrap up by 4. 4, Karen's voice rose. "I have a conference call with clients from Europe at 3. Do you have any idea how this reflects on my property values? This neighborhood has standards." The word standards hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus felt every parent's eyes on him, waiting to see how he'd respond. Princess Aurora had paused her activities, sensing the tension. "Ma'am, we have every right to host a party in our own backyard," Marcus said, his voice steady but firm. "We're not violating any noise ordinances or HOA rules." "Don't ma'am me," Karen snapped. "And don't lecture me about rules. I've lived in this neighborhood for 8 years. We don't deal with this kind of thing here." The question came from Lisa Chen, who'd stepped closer with her arms crossed. Karen's cheeks flushed. "Loud, disruptive parties with dozens of cars and commercial vehicles. This isn't some urban apartment complex. It's a children's birthday party," said David Johnson, one of the fathers. "With maybe 6 extra cars on a public street." "I don't recall asking for your opinion," Karen shot back. She turned back to Marcus. "I'm asking you nicely to shut this down. Show some respect for your neighbors." Marcus felt anger building in his chest, but Grace's voice echoed in his memory. "Don't let them make you the angry black man. Stay calm. Stay dignified. Stay smart." "I appreciate your concern," he said evenly, "but we're not shutting down my daughter's birthday party. If you'd like to make a formal complaint, you can contact the HOA or the city. Otherwise, I'd ask you to please leave my property." Karen's face went red. "Your property? You mean the house the bank owns while you're probably 3 months behind on payments?" The comment hit like a physical blow. Marcus heard Grace's sharp intake of breath from behind him and saw Zoe's confused face in the crowd of children. "That's enough," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "Is it because from where I'm standing, you people move into our neighborhood and immediately start bringing down the tone? loud parties, that music. The party limped to its conclusion with forced cheer and awkward smiles. Parents exchanged contact information with pointed comments about supporting each other and standing up to bullies, while their children ran off residual energy in the bounce house. Princess Aurora performed valiantly, but even her theatrical magic couldn't completely erase the tension that hung over the backyard like smoke. Marcus moved through the motions cutting cake, opening presents, thanking guests while his mind churned with cold fury. Every time he looked at Zoe's face, saw the shadow of confusion and hurt that Karen's words had cast over her special day. His resolve hardened a little more. "Dad, I got you something," said Tyler Henderson, Janet's grandson, approaching Marcus with a small wrapped box as the party wound down. "That's very sweet, Tyler, but today is Zoe's. It's not a present," the 10-year-old interrupted, glancing around to make sure no adults were listening. "It's evidence." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Evidence?" Tyler held up his phone, trying to look casual. "I recorded the whole thing. My mom always tells me to record bullies at school so they can't lie about what they said later. That lady was definitely a bully." Tyler ... Marcus started, then stopped. "The kid was right. Can you send that to me?" "Already did. I got your number from the party invite." Tyler's expression was surprisingly serious for his age. "My best friend at my old school was black, and people said stuff like that to his family too. It's not okay." Marcus felt a surge of gratitude for this earnest kid with his sense of justice. "Thank you, Tyler. That was very smart thinking. Hope you get her in trouble. We'll see." As the last guests departed, Marcus helped Grace clean up while Zoe played quietly in the bounce house, which would be picked up the next morning. The silence felt heavy after hours of party noise. "She's processing," Grace said, following his gaze to Zoe. "Give her time to ask questions. This shouldn't be something she has to process. She's 8 years old." "I know, baby," Grace had called him that since he'd married Sarah, and it never failed to comfort him. "But she's strong, like her mama was, and she's got good people around her." Marcus nodded, then pulled out his phone. Tyler's video was already in his messages, along with files from 3 other parents. As he watched the footage, his anger reignited. The video was crystal clear: Karen's face, her words, her tone. All of it captured in high definition. But anger alone wouldn't fix this. Marcus had learned long ago that emotional responses rarely produced strategic results. He needed to think this through carefully. That evening, after Zoe had gone to bed with extra hugs and her new birthday books, Marcus sat in his home office and opened his laptop. The room had been Sarah's craft space before her illness, and he'd converted it after her death, keeping some of her decorative touches. Her presence felt particularly strong tonight, as if she were looking over his shoulder. Marcus pulled up LinkedIn first. A quick search for Karen Mitchell Willowbrook produced several results, but only one matched the woman from Tedekaran Mitchell, Senior Sales Director at Premier Luxury Realty. Her profile photo showed the same blonde hair and practiced smile, along with endorsements for high-end residential sales and exclusive neighborhood expertise. Interesting. Karen worked in real estate, which meant her reputation was everything. A scandal involving racist comments could be professionally devastating. He clicked through to her company's website. Premier Luxury Realty specialized in upscale properties, with Karen featured prominently on their Meet Our Team page. The bio described her as a longtime Willowbrook resident who understands the unique character and values of our finest neighborhoods. Marcus screenshot everything, then moved to social media. Karen's Facebook page was partially public, showing posts about property listings, community events, and family photos. Her most recent post from yesterday was a share of an article about maintaining property values through community standards, with her own comment about how certain elements could destroy neighborhood character. The pattern was becoming clear. This wasn't an isolated incident of someone having a bad day. Karen Mitchell had built her professional brand around exclusivity and standards, code words that Marcus recognized all too well. He opened a new document and began typing, creating a detailed timeline of the day's events. Every word Karen had said, every witness who'd been present, every piece of evidence he'd collected. If this escalated, he wanted to be prepared. Then he did something that would have made his cybersecurity colleagues proud. He created a backup plan. Marcus had spent years protecting corporate networks from malicious actors. He understood information warfare, viral campaigns, and the power of coordinated digital response. Karen had threatened to use her connections to make his life difficult. She clearly didn't understand that he had connections to Andes were in very different circles than hers. But first, he'd try the civilized approach. The next morning, Marcus called Premier Luxury Realty. The receptionist transferred him to Karen's voicemail, where he left a carefully worded message requesting a conversation about the previous day's incident. He kept his tone professional and non-threatening, offering her an opportunity to resolve the matter privately. She didn't call back. That afternoon, while Zoe was at school, Marcus drove to Karen's real estate office. Premier Luxury Realty occupied a gleaming storefront in Willowbrook's upscale shopping district, its windows displaying photos of million-dollar homes. "I'd like to speak with Karen Mitchell," he told the receptionist, a young woman with perfectly styled hair and a practiced smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I'm a neighbor. It's about a community matter." The receptionist's smile faltered slightly as she looked him up and down. "Let me see if she's available." Through the glass partition, Marcus watched the receptionist approach a blonde woman at a desk in the back corner. Karen looked up, saw Marcus through the window, and her face went white. She shook her head vigorously, gesturing for the receptionist to come back. "I'm sorry, Ms. Mitchell is with clients all afternoon," the receptionist said, not quite meeting his eyes. "I see. Could you give her a message?" "Of course," Marcus smiled pleasantly. "Tell her that Marcus Williams stopped by to discuss Saturday's incident. Let her know that I'm hoping we can resolve this matter privately, but that I'm prepared to explore other options if necessary." The receptionist wrote this down, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Also, Marcus added, "Tell her that her comments were recorded by multiple witnesses, and that I'd hate for those recordings to become public without giving her a chance to address the situation first. I'll make sure she gets the message. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day." Marcus left the office, knowing he'd fired a warning shot. Karen would understand that he wasn't going away and that he had leverage. Now he'd wait to see how she responded. He didn't have to wait long. At 8 p.m. that evening, as Marcus was helping Zoe with homework, his phone rang. Unknown number, Marcus Williams. "This is Karen Mitchell." Her voice was tight with controlled anger. "I got your message, Karen. Thank you for calling. I was hoping we could discuss Saturday." "There's nothing to discuss. You're harassing me at my workplace, making threats." "I made no threats. I simply offered you an opportunity to address the situation before it escalates." "What exactly do you want?" Marcus had prepared for this question, an apology. "To my daughter, in front of the same neighbors who witnessed your comments, and a commitment that this kind of behavior won't happen again." Karen laughed, sharp and bitter. "You want me to apologize for expressing legitimate concerns about neighborhood standards? You must be joking." "Karen, you made racist comments in front of 20 witnesses, including children. You called my family, you people, and talked about what kind of element was moving into the neighborhood. That's not about standards, that's about prejudice." "I never said anything racist. You're twisting my words, just like I knew you would. This is exactly the kind of manipulative behavior. It's on video." "Karen, multiple videos from multiple angles. Would you like me to send you Tyler Henderson's footage so you can see for yourself?" The line went quiet for a long moment. "You recorded me without my consent," she finally said, her voice smaller. "Tyler Henderson recorded a public confrontation on private property, where you were trespassing and making threatening statements. That's perfectly legal in this state." Another pause. When Karen spoke again, her tone had shifted from defensive to calculating. "What you're doing is extortion. You're trying to coerce me into apologizing for something I didn't do by threatening to release edited footage that makes me look bad." "The footage isn't edited, Karen. It shows exactly what happened, exactly as you said it. That's your interpretation. Others might see it differently." Marcus felt his patience wearing thin. "Karen, I'm offering you a chance to handle this quietly. One public apology, and this goes away. But if you'd rather fight this publicly, are you threatening me?" "I'm explaining your options. My lawyer will be very interested in this conversation." "I'm sure he will, just like I'm sure Premier Luxury Realty's corporate partners will be interested in seeing how their senior sales director interacts with potential clients. You, son of a Karen, caught herself. Fine, you want to play games? Let's play games. You have no idea what you're messing with. The Tuesday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that usually made Marcus grateful for their move to Willowbrook. But as he sipped his coffee and watched Karen's BMW pull out of her driveway, he felt only cold determination. She was heading to work, probably confident that her threats had intimidated him into backing down. She was about to discover how wrong she was. Marcus had spent the previous evening making strategic calls. Jessica Chen had been appalled by the video footage and immediately offered her services pro bono. David Kim had connected him with a network of digital activists who specialized in exposing racial discrimination. And Janet Henderson, bless her heart. "You sure about this, sweetheart?" Grace asked, setting down her own coffee cup. "Once you light this fuse, there's no putting it back." "She had her chance to handle this quietly," Marcus replied. "She chose to threaten me instead. I'm not worried about her. I'm worried about you and Zoe. This kind of attention can get ugly." Fast. Marcus nodded. His mother-in-law was right to be concerned. But some fights were worth having, especially when they were about creating a world where his daughter could feel safe in her own neighborhood. "We'll be careful," he promised, "but we won't be silent." At exactly 9 a.m., Marcus published his first social media post, Twitter for viral potential, and Facebook for local community reach. The post was carefully crafted, legally vetted by Jessica, and accompanied by a 2-minute video compilation that Tyler and the other kids had helped him edit. "Yesterday was my daughter's 8th birthday. She'd been looking forward to her party for weeks. Princess theme, bounce house, all her school friends. What she got instead was a lesson in how hatred looks when it wears a friendly face." The video was devastating in its simplicity. It opened with footage of Zoe laughing in her birthday dress, surrounded by friends of all colors, having innocent fun. Then it cut to Karen's arrival, her escalating aggression, and her increasingly explicit racist comments. It ended with Zoe asking, "Why was that lady so mean?" in a voice that could break hearts. Marcus had tagged Karen's real estate company, used hashtag racism in real estate and hashtag Willowbrook shame, and made sure the post was public. Then he sat back and watched what happened when sunlight hit darkness. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, the post had been shared 50 times. Within 2 hours, local news outlets were commenting and asking for interviews. By lunch, it had been picked up by a popular anti-racism Instagram account with 500,000 followers. Marcus's phone started ringing at 10:30 a.m. and didn't stop. "Mr. Williams, this is Channel 7 News. We'd like to do a story about your daughter's birthday party incident. ... double quotes Marcus. This is incredible. The video is everywhere." Zoe's voice was small as she peered through the living room curtains after coming home from school. That last call stopped. Marcus cold. In his focus on holding Karen accountable, he hadn't fully considered how the spotlight would affect his family. 3 news vans sat outside their house, reporters checking their phones and adjusting their equipment. "Grace, can you take Zoe to the park for a while? Use the back gate?" "Of course. You handling this okay?" Marcus wasn't sure. The response had been bigger and faster than he'd expected. His phone showed hundreds of notifications. His LinkedIn had crashed from too much traffic. And hashtag Willowbrook shame. Media accounts all day, watching as angry comments poured in under every post. The company's Yelp page was being bombarded with 1-star reviews mentioning Karen by name. Their Google listing had dropped 2 full stars in 6 hours. At 2 p.m., Marcus received a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Williams, this is Richard Blackwood, managing partner at Premier Luxury Realty. I need to speak with you immediately." "About what, Mr. Blackwood?" "About the situation with Karen Mitchell. I think there's been a misunderstanding that we need to resolve." Marcus almost smiled. "I'm not sure what there is to misunderstand. Your employee made racist comments at my daughter's birthday party. It's all documented. Look, I've reviewed the footage, and I agree Karen's behavior was inappropriate. But this social media campaign is destroying our business. We've had clients canceling contracts all day. That sounds like a Karen problem, not a Marcus problem." "Mr. Williams, please. I'm trying to make this right. Karen no longer works for Premier Luxury Realty. We terminated her employment this morning." Marcus felt a moment of satisfaction, but It was tempered by the realization that Karen losing her job might only make her more dangerous. I appreciate that, Mr. Blackwood, but we're also prepared to make a substantial donation to a civil rights organization of your choosing, and I'd like to issue a public apology on behalf of the company. Again, I appreciate the gesture, but this was never about your company. It was about accountability for racist behavior. What would it take to end this campaign? The question hung in the air. Mr. Blackwood, I never asked for your employee to be fired. I asked her to apologize to my daughter. She chose to escalate instead. She's not handling the situation well. I'm not sure an apology is possible at this point. What do you mean? Karen's been calling us all day, screaming about lawsuits and claiming this is all a setup. She's talking about fighting back, about exposing what she calls your agenda. Frankly, she sounds unhinged. Marcus felt a chill. An unhinged Karen was a dangerous Karen, especially one who'd just lost her livelihood and felt she had nothing left to lose. Mr. Blackwood, I need you to understand something. This situation started because your former employee decided to terrorize an 8-year-old girl at her own birthday party. Everything that happened after that was a consequence of her choices, not mine. I understand that. But we're all dealing with the fallout now. Before Marcus could respond, his other line beeped with a call from Jessica Chen. Mr. Blackwood, I need to take another call. I wanted accountability and an apology. Karen chose a different path. Marcus switched to Jessica's call. Marcus, we have a problem. Karen Mitchell just filed a restraining order against you, claiming harassment and stalking. There's a hearing scheduled for Thursday morning. She did what? It gets worse. She's also filed a defamation lawsuit claiming the video was edited to make her look racist and that you're running a coordinated attack to destroy her reputation. Marcus sat down hard in his kitchen chair. Can she do that? She can file anything she wants. Whether she can win is another question. The video evidence is pretty damning. But Marcus, this is about to get very ugly very fast. What do I need to do? First, document everything. Every interaction, every phone call, every social media post. Second, don't go anywhere near her or her property. Third, be prepared for this to get a lot more public. As if summoned by Jessica's words, Marcus heard a commotion outside. Through the front window, he could see Karen's white BMW parked across the street, and Karen herself, standing beside it, talking animatedly to a reporter while pointing at Marcus's house. Jessica, she's outside my house right now talking to the media. Do not engage. Do not go outside. Record everything from inside, but do not give her any ammunition to claim you're harassing her. Marcus hung up and immediately started recording. Through his window, Karen was in full performance mode, gesturing dramatically as she spoke to the reporter. He couldn't hear her words. Trying to get neighbors to sign some kind of petition, she's telling people. Most people are slamming doors in her face, but the Stevensons seemed to be listening. Marcus felt the situation spiraling beyond his control. What had started as a demand for a simple apology had morphed into a neighborhood civil war, with media attention, legal battles, and Karen apparently having some kind of breakdown in his front yard. Then his phone rang again. This time it was, Tyler Henderson, Mr. Williams. My grandma said I should call you. Karen Mitchell just came to our house. What did she say? Tyler. She wanted Grandma to sign a paper saying you were dangerous and that the video wasn't real. But Grandma told her to get off our property or she'd call the police. Did she leave? Yeah, but Mr. Williams. She was saying weird stuff. Like, really? Weird stuff about how you probably weren't even Zoe's real dad and how people like you always try to scam money from honest families. Marcus closed his eyes. Karen wasn't just doubling.